So I've got like a good chunk of my family in here versus like the odd phone call every once in a while.
I found myself weaseling into some of the darkest corners that I could find, I guess, just trying to find somewhere to be.
When I was a kid growing up, I would literally go to bed and I'd pray that I'd wake up as a girl the next day.
In this video, you will hear about my own and other stories about how VRChat has impacted our lives. This is a topic I think about frequently, especially when I reflect on my own life. I really enjoyed reading through the brief stories that people commented for this video. I'm only going to cover my story briefly, as I've covered aspects of it in the past, and honestly, I'm more interested in other people's stories, as I'm sure you are as well. But if you do enjoy the video, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share where you think people will enjoy this video. In advance, I'm sorry if this microphone doesn't sound as great as the other one. New headset, face tracking. All right, let's begin. A few years before the day that changed everything, I was lost. One day, I decided I'm just not going to go outside anymore. Local friends in the area quickly just left my life. It was like I vanished and no one even cared. This put me in a dark place mentally, and I just didn't want to do anything. I was convinced I couldn't. I used to tell myself that my purpose in this world was an example of what not to be. Very embarrassing to say that, but it's true. I wasn't sure if I should put that in the video, but anyways, let's move on. Over some time, I started to play games online like Gmod, and I met really cool people. They're my best friends to this day. There was something back then that was just still missing. I was always depressed, felt lost, and then one day I seen a video about a game called VRChat, and I was blown away. I had to be there. October 28th, 2017. The day that changed everything for me. Immediately, I met incredible people that I am still friends with to this day. It was honestly just such an experience I'm really not sure how to explain. Everything just felt so new, adventurous. There were so many wonderful people doing extraordinary things. I really think about these times all the time. When I look at things now, what VRChat has done for me is give me friends that really pushed me to be a better person, to try my best. They gave me strength. VRChat gave me strength to keep on continuing. My life has improved greatly. I feel like little by little, I myself have improved, but I really feel like my story's not quite over. There's so much more I want to accomplish, so much more I want to do, and we're just getting started. I just want to thank VRChat, my friends, and acquaintances, anyone I've ever met. You've all been a part of my ever-changing life. I think I'll stop the story there. It's something ongoing. I'm more interested in about hearing these great people's stories, and I'm sure you will be. So let's go ahead and check them out.
Before VRChat, I think I was always kind of a nerd, but I've also kind of like transitioned into like a semi-normie part of my life. So I have like an office job, but I also went to like conventions and cosplayed and stuff. But then like, quarantine happened, and I kind of like lost a lot of those connections that I had. At least, we weren't going out as much. And then because of that, I kind of became just like my work life, and that was kind of depressing. But I guess it's 22 now. One of my younger brothers brought me into VRChat for like a VTuber thing, and I like became obsessed with it. So in 2020, I'd gotten my Rift headset, and like I really only used it for like Half-Life Alyx, and then like didn't touch it till like 22. Afterwards, when I first came into VRChat, I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is like what I wanted out of VR. And it was cool for a while because it helped me rekindle a lot of those relationships I had. Maybe I'm like going into like your next question, but yeah, I think that's largely like what I was like. Another thing is like before VRChat, I'd kind of like relocated. So I'm originally from the U.S. West Coast, and then at some point I moved out to the American Midwest, and I lost a lot of those like in-person connections I had. But VRChat has also been like a great way for me to like hang out with like people that I'd lost contact with be it like my brothers and stuff, like kind of in person.
That's actually cool. So you actually you do hang out with like family. I think I've seen you say stuff like that before. You hang out with your like brothers and stuff in VR chat.
My one younger brother, we're both middle children. He's the one that brought me into here, and then like only just a few months ago, my youngest brother actually started hanging out in here pretty regularly. So I've got like a good chunk of my family in here versus like the odd phone call every once in a while.
Yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah, so VRChat has, I guess it's kind of become like very quickly it became my favorite thing in the world. I spent like maybe a month or two just using my Rift S headset, and then very quickly I was like, oh man, I need legs. At this time, cheap trackers were hard to come by, but I was able to get in on like some Haritora X's like early on in their run. I like got into full body, and then that was it. It was over. I was like in here like every single weekend. Anymore, it's like half the week I'm in VRChat, and it's great. Like I've met so many friends. I've like rekindled relationships with people that I met through like the cosplay scene and stuff. Like I said before, I'm spending time with my brothers again, and it's just a good time in VR. Like I feel like I feel like this is the same with a lot of people. You can kind of be a truer form of yourself. IRL, we all kind of put up these masks, and we're like, we have to be like what society wants us to be. But here you can kind of just like, you can be as nerdy as you want, you can be like as free as you want. Kind of as a weird tangent, like last year in the spring, I kind of went through this like sort of like depressive phase. When I first started VRChat, I was using this kind of like whatever public avies I could find. And then after a while, it's like, well, I want something that represents me. So I made like a Vroid, sort of like a fantasy sci-fi version of or cyberpunk version of who I am. And then after a while, like I was like hanging out with all these people, and everybody was anime girls, and you're like, oh, go with the flow, I guess. And I got like this like cute little like bunny girl off booth, and she was like kind of tomboyish. As time went on, I just like the avatars I kept like picking up off of booth became like more and more effeminate, and I was like, okay, well, I guess this is a thing now. It like worked out. Like going back to my previous point, it was like I started getting like depressed IRL, seeing a male version of myself in VRChat. I was like, no, this is too close to reality. I don't want anything to do with this right now. So when I was in here, I just want to be cute anime girl, and it's just like, here I am now. I'm still very happy with how things are. Like, I don't consider myself like trans or anything, but it's just a fun escape. I'm okay like using male avies and like using avies that look more like myself now. Like I'm doing a lot better mentally, but it just became. Eventually, this just became like how I identify in VR. You can kind of wear your personality on your sleeve, like I'm Year of the Rabbit, so I'm a bunny girl. Like teal is like my favorite color. So this Game Boy is this is the first console that was like mine. This exact like Game Boy was the one I grew up with, and it's just cool. VR is like, there's like a great sense of community in here. Like I've made so many friends, and like I feel like it's easier to keep up with friends in here versus like IRL, especially since I live so far away from like so many people. But like here, it feels like you're right next to people. You're like a quarter of the country away from me, but it feels like you're right here. Yeah, there's some people who come in here for the worlds and stuff, but like for me, it really is the people. It's the relationships you make. It's it's just a fun place to meet and hang out.
Before VRChat, I was down a path to becoming completely an incel, pretty much, man. The more and more I looked at it afterward, it fell right into the lines, man. The only thing that was missing was the Redditor and like the strap chin. Yeah, that's the only thing I was missing. They would have completed the whole package, man. I was at the point where I was hating on women and everything too. I even had a girlfriend at the moment, and I still managed to become an incel. I was a terrible person for so long, man. I just walked around. I had hatred for the world, dude. I had a Instagram account dedicated just for how badly I hated the world. I just had paragraphs of poems and stuff about how really didn't feel like the world fit in. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what was going on around me, and I didn't know how to cope. And of course, I was definitely addicted to the internet. I found myself weaseling into some of the darkest corners that I could find, I guess, just trying to find somewhere to be. For VR chat, it was just pretty much sitting on my lonesome in a room, listening to music. The moment I got home to the moment I went to bed, I'd done absolutely nothing. I'd still eaten everything. I had appetite, you know, just normal guy, except for I didn't talk to anyone in person. I hated it. Hated conversing. Hated being around people. I even came up with like any lie I could just to get out of having a conversation. I got to the point where I'd just repeat the same 5 sentences, the same basic NPC lines, just like, hey, yeah, hell yeah, man. Just that over and over. Whatever ended the conversation fast and started going about my day. After joining VRChat, I actually had started off using a Google Cardboard and my phone, and I used a Wii remote to control myself, like to be able to look around and stuff. I had to grab the screen and drag around. And after getting on VRChat for the first time, I struggled getting around. I struggled before even using the mic. I was scared to talk to people. In other games, I didn't even talk to people, never used the mic. Socially awkward. And one day I got Quest 2. I was working at Walmart at the moment. I saved my ass off to get this Quest 2 and got on VRChat and met my first friend, Dr. Fantastic. That dude, he was everything I wanted to be. Dude was out there. He was extroverted. He spoke his mind. He spoke his feelings. He was weird too. Really, really weird, but that's what I liked. He kept it real. He was himself. That's what I wanted to be, and I couldn't express that. That's what I was trying to figure out in my whole life. After meeting that dude, hanging out with him, he introduced me to more and more people like that in VRChat. In VRChat, I felt like, you know, I was kind of secluded. I was kind of safe on my own. I didn't have to be directly with the people, and it kind of eased me into socializing with others a lot more and getting into conversing and understanding other points of views of how people see things. And after that, I even got a job with retail. I actually, like, instead of pushing carts for Walmart, I actually got a job inside the building doing retail. It just grew and grew, and my passion for being around people has done nothing but grow exponentially since then. And I've gone out to parties, I've been to the bars and everything, things I never imagined myself doing. Going from being a kid sitting in a room depressed like for 7 years of my life to just out there doing everything I thought I'd never be doing because I didn't have the guts to get up and do it.
It's hard to remember exactly how I was before VRChat because I started playing this game 7 years ago. I kind of just went to school and then I would come home and play video games with my friends. That was pretty much my entire life. And I'd, you know, go to family events or whatever. As far as like my future and stuff, I was always pretty directionless. I was not very socially outgoing. I wasn't socially anxious or anything, but I never really had the desire to go out and like talk with people much or find friend groups and stuff like that. Eventually, once I started VRChat in 2017, initially I wasn't someone who would speak in the game. I don't know why. It was something I didn't feel comfortable doing until I got really close with someone. It was really easy to make friends here and very easy to socialize and I don't know, just make a lot of really nice connections with people. After a while into the game, I eventually met someone named Melody. Mm-hmm. And this person was a trans user. I eventually like talked to them a little bit about them being trans because I hadn't really heard about what that was. I don't think they really went super far into it or anything like that. But right. It definitely like I you know, it went in my brain. I was like, oh, okay, cool, that's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, over time I always used a girl avatar on here. Even before that conversation, people would always ask me like why, and I never really knew why. I just liked it. And eventually one of my closer friends, his name is Double Goose, a good friend of mine that I spent a lot of time with back then, asked me straight up if I was trans because he had known trans people before.
Right.
And I just like didn't know. I never confronted the question with myself. And we kind of like talked about it, and he like asked me some questions about it, and I was like, I mean, yeah, that'd be pretty cool or whatever, right?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when I was a kid growing up, like I would literally go to bed some nights, and I'd pray, because I grew up Christian. I would pray that I'd wake up as a girl the next day. You know, when I was in middle school, I had a dream that I was one of the girls in my class, just a random one. There were like months after that where every time I went to bed, I was like trying to get that dream again, and I didn't really know why. Never made sense to me. I never thought about it that hard. Eventually, I realized that I'm trans, and I got the confidence to come out to my family, and I think VRChat played a major role in me discovering that about myself and being able to start it as early as I did. Being able to go through that has made me a lot more confident with myself, confident with like socially with other people. It has made me care about myself more than I ever did, or what I'm doing with my life, and a lot of other things, like my emotions and understanding them has been like way better. That's probably the biggest thing VRChat has changed about my life. I feel like I'm a lot better at social situations. I've had a lot of experience that has been through VRChat, especially with like relationship stuff and groups of people, and trying to figure out where to draw the line with certain things when it comes to social groups and how to handle them better. I think VRChat's been a big help on that, as I'm sure you've probably experienced yourself.
It's definitely people-based. That's one thing I'm learning from my own, history and the people that I've talked to today. Even VRChat was definitely like the catalyst, I guess. But like you got like all the supporting friends and stuff. It's just so cool. Everyone has like such a different story that I've talked to today, but it's all been like in a positive way, it's just awesome. I sincerely believe that VRChat and other social VR platforms can help a lot of people. Has VRChat ever impacted your life? Was it for the better? Was it for the worse? Let me know in the comments down below. That's it for this video. To all my supporters, thank you. Thank you for watching, everybody. And as always, have a great one.